Hi, welcome to this edition of Garden Guns. You'll probably notice later on in the video the second half was shot sort of fairly early on during the year. I think it was shot back in March, end of March, beginning of April. I messed the beginning up and I just haven't got around to being able to reshoot the beginning. So here we are today. And what are we here to talk about? We are here to talk about this awesome bundle of fun. And for those of you that don't know what this is the Umarex Walther CO2 powered 177 pellet firing underlever rifle. And basically it's a copy of the ubiquitous Winchester cowboy rifle. This particular one, when it came into the shop, was owned by a chap called Andy, who's one of the channel's subscribers. I didn't realise that at the time. And Andy's done a great job in keeping this sort of tip-top, and I think he's done a little bit of work to the action because it is super slick on this rifle. It's what drew me to it. But anyway, let's talk about the rifle in general. So this is the old version. The original version, which this is, has a weird sort of CO2 mechanism. The new version that I've also owned, but I traded in, it takes an 88 gram cylinder. This one has got this sort of weird CO2 magazine, I'm going to call it, and the top basically ratchets down on top of the CO2 cylinders, 12 gram CO2 cylinders. The issue with this being is the fact that sometimes you don't get a clean sort of puncture of one of the cylinders, you only have one punctured. So I tend to just use one cylinder at a time and just keep an empty one in there. So I get about 40 shots out of this when I'm doing that. The new version, and you can tell the new version because it's got a longer plastic butt pad, you get, I think it's something like 150, 200 shots out of one of the 88 grams. Can't actually remember. But other than the way that it uses CO2 and the method of CO2 it uses to keep charged, there isn't actually any difference between this rifle and the new version. So for those of you that are interested in buying a new one, or can find a second-hand one, yeah, all intents and purposes, the rest of this review, other than the way that CO2 is loaded, yeah, it's valid for both rifles. Right, so we've talked about the way CO2 is loaded, we've talked about the butt pad difference. Both the new and the original version have got a really nice sort of they've got wooden furniture as opposed to plastic furniture. A lot of the new, these BB firing, shell loading, shell ejecting ones, that I think it's the one that Umarex do, that's plastic. There's another company that's just released a pellet firing, shell ejecting, a CO2 powered underlever with an octagonal barrel, and you can actually change the barrel, so you can either have it in 177 or 22, I believe. That is also plastic, although they look amazing. They still don't have, doesn't matter how you cut it, it's just not as good as the original wood. And I think for me anyway, that's why I would probably choose this, because it, for all intents and purposes, it feels almost exactly the same as an original Winchester, which I've been lucky enough to shoot a few times down at my local rifle club. So coming into the underlever mechanism, and that is, on this rifle, and actually to be honest on all of the ones I've tried, is absolutely superb, and tons of fun. Absolutely, for tin can blasting, little tin soldiers, for general plinking, yeah, great. You can rack through the 8-shot magazine in no time at all, so I would recommend buying a fair few of those and keeping them loaded up. And to load that 8-shot magazine, where you would normally put your shells in for either the BB version or the actual real powder firing version, the loading gate, that is actually the mechanism to release where you would slot your 8-shot Umarex Walther standard magazine, and it just fits in and you close it up and then you are good to go. Right, on the other versions they have a little plastic red strip insert that sticks out when the magazine is loaded. The chap Andy basically cut that out because he was under the impression that it just made the action a little bit stiffer and harder to use, and judging by how easy this is to cock, I think he might be onto something with that. Anyway, into the forward, the foregrip, which once again, as I said, is wood. Your foresight is plastic and it's adjustable for elevation, and it goes into basically a barrel, and it is, you know, I'd say it's shrouded. It's not really. It's basically a fake barrel with the 177 airgun barrel on the inside, and that goes into a adjustable foresight, and that's adjustable for windage. The issue with the foresight is that it's a compression fitting. It's sort of ratcheted on. I think with a lot of adjustment it's actually going to come loose, so you know, yeah, that's probably the weakest point, I think, in this rifle from my perspective. I think it's the only thing I sort of look at and go, oh, I'm not sure about that. Anyway, the magazine tube is just for show. It doesn't really do anything. You've got a cross bolt safety on these things, which is red is for fire, and when you can't see the red, the rifle's safe. And it's got a little sling swivel. Well, I think it's a saddle swivel, I think they call it. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, so all in all, you get a really sort of good replica rifle feeling for this. And if you want to, yeah, if you've always wanted one, a real one like I have, this is a really good sort of approximation of it. Anyway, we're now going to cut to the shooting part of the video. As I say, I did that earlier on, and then the summing up, which I also did. So let's get on with the shooting. Right, so 15 yards in this rather sporty wind. I was using these Excite Econ 2s, these wad cutters. Unfortunately, they're getting blown about all over the place. I've moved on to these JSB Exacts, these 8.44 Diablos. Hopefully I'll be able to get a little bit more consistency. I am wondering if I'm on a loser today. We shall see. So, less talking, more shooting. Let's hopefully try and get a group in. Right, there we go. Let's go and see how I've done. So how did we do? Well, it's a little bit difficult to see on this target. Lots of small holes in a black target. It's a lot easier to see on the back. Bonuses of a double-sided target. You can see most of these shots have clipped the 10 ring, which on a day like today, with the weather gusting like it is, I think that just goes to show exactly how good this rifle can be. You know, it's managed to shoot more than adequately with my tired eyes at 15 yards on open sights. You know, on a day that, you know, most rifles would struggle to get any sort of grouping out of. So on a still day, I know that this rifle is more than capable of a thumb hole group at 20 yards with open sights. When I do my part, I can achieve that, and I have done. And that's what originally surprised me when I got my first one of these. I was surprised at how accurate it was and how good it was for just paper target bashing. By no means am I suggesting it's a target rifle, but it's more than good enough to be able to punch holes in paper and have a bit of fun with family and friends. And I think that's where the real value in a rifle like this comes. This is what I would call a British barbecue rifle, you know, the equivalent of. It's one of those rifles where when you've got family and friends coming over on a nice sunny day, providing you've got a nice area set up that's safe to do a bit of plinking, and you don't need more than about 15 yards. You know, if you're just using pistols, 10 yards is good enough. If you've got one of these, 15 to 20 definitely gives you a decent challenge. It's one of those opportunities to be able to get out the back of the garden while you're waiting for the barbecue to heat up, and, you know, before the beer starts to flow, and get those guys that wouldn't otherwise be exposed to shooting and the fun that you can have safely with air gunning and with shooting in general. It gives you the opportunity to get them out to experience that and to teach them that shooting is fun and it is safe, providing it's done in a safe way. And, you know, I know that I don't use iPro a lot when I'm shooting targets. You'll see I'll have had some video going up with me plinking away in the background. When I'm shooting steel targets or anything that can ricochet, I make sure that I've got iPro on. And, you know, when I'm shooting with family and friends, I most definitely make sure that all safety is squared away, because it is one of those opportunities, you know, to teach people that shooting done properly is a fantastically safe sport. You know, and that is also, you know, the building blocks of that is teaching them the four rules of gun safety. You know, always make sure that your firearm's pointing in a safe direction. Always make sure that your finger is off the trigger until you are ready to shoot the rifle. Always assume your firearm is loaded, and always be assured of your target and what's behind that, you know. And once you start talking like that and getting people to think like that, that's that gateway to sort of, you know, oh wow, this, you know, yeah, if I do this, things are safe. You know, I'm not going to shoot somebody by accident. I'm certainly not going to be shot. And, you know, it's that opportunity to be able to hopefully get more people involved in the sport. Anyway, overall, I know that these rifles, these Umarex Underlevers aren't cheap, brand new. I mean, if you've ever actually had the chance to shoot one or hold one, you'll know that they are a solidly made bit of kit, you know, wooden stocks and, you know, solid receivers and finishes. You know, try and pick one up second hand if you haven't got the budget for one new. They are fantastic fun, and they are really, you know, really surprisingly accurate. I think if you can put the pennies together to get one, it's a great back garden summer gun. I would highly recommend picking one up if you can. And on that point, the heavens are just about to open. I do believe that there is a storm on the way today, and I've got a feeling, hence the wind, as the storm front's getting closer, I've got a feeling that, you know, we're just starting to pick up the rain front now. So I'm going to finish. Thank you very much for watching. Keep an eye open for the next video. It's, once again, I'm trying to do these every month or so. Yeah, and until then, stay safe. Cheers.